breaking news that we are tracking for you, and this one coming by way of the US administration, which is now saying that India is going to, rather all countries which support what is being referred to as the anti-American BRICS will be imposed with an additional 10% tariff. Kranti, this seems to be again a statement which is coming from the US administration over the fears of de-dollarization, and this is something that the US administration has been completely, against and has been raising the alarm on. Does it seem to be any merit in considering the fact that now this expanded BRICS nation, which is not just the 4 or the 5 original countries, but also has Indonesia, also has the African Union and many other countries now adding to the BRICS bloc, does it seem as a direct 10% threat or a 10% penalty to all countries which are part of the BRICS bloc and which may intend to, in the near future or later, join the BRICS bloc?
Karthik, in terms of the global trade is concerned, the BRICS bloc right now consists about the original 5 and also the new additions that have added to the BRICS bloc, including, I believe, Saudi Arabia. So this is the crucial bloc in terms of the global trade is concerned and the emerging countries. But geographically, these countries are spread across various parts. But where the US concern that comes is, if these countries are going to have the trade, the bilateral trade in their original currencies, that can have the impact on the dollar as a currency is concerned. That's where the US administration is much worried. But these are the early signs. We need to see. This is one of the apprehension by the US administration. But I don't think so. The US administration is in a hurry to implement this one. These are the warning signals that they're giving to the BRICS countries. But we need to see, because one thing is they have the strong trade ties with the US also back again. These are the warning signals US is giving. It is right now premature to apprehend because of this commentary. We need to wait and watch how this entire new episode, because the US president has been warning these kind of comments from the past 2-3 months back also. He made these kind of commentaries. Now, okay, he is coming deliberately on these countries ahead of the BRICS summit is concerned. So definitely the BRICS nations are going to have a discussion on these points, and they will take the appropriate measures to overcome these kind of warning signals.
Right. So, Kranti, if you notice, and this is the statement that we are flashing, in fact, it's a post on Truth Social by Donald Trump, which you're flashing on the screens right now, which says, any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There'll be no exceptions to this policy. That is exactly what US President Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social just a few minutes ago. Now, it's understandable, Kranti, that US has a big problem with China. Perhaps one could arguably say an even bigger problem with Russia. But what about countries like India, which US sees and finds a friend in? So do you think this is again a targeted strike only at China and perhaps at Russia, and every other country part of the BRICS bloc now becomes collateral damage?
Karthik, with respect to the current commentary is concerned, he mentioned that it is anti-American policies. So, so he is specifically mentioning the anti-American policies.
Is
he
talking about de-dollarization to your mind, Kranti, or are there other anti-American policies, like, for example, buying cheaper Russian oil?
That's what it seems. So anti-American policies is much concerned, but India have the way out for all these events. Karthik, we can buy more LNG from US. That's where we can increase the bilateral trade, and also we reduce the current the trade surplus with US. So these are the measures, policy measures, in a calibrated way. The policy makers in India, they're going to take. Of course, this commentary is deliberate on the BRICS nations as they're starting a summit. But we need to wait and watch. India have a strong bilateral ties with the US, and also our commentary is not like the Russian counterparts or like the Chinese counterparts. Even in fact, Karthik, last couple of days back, the U.S. administration, especially the President Trump, have given a stern warning to Japanese counterpart, which is a very strong trade partner of U.S. He said he is getting frustrated with the policy negotiations of Japan. Japan is concerned. So when he made such a commentary on nation like Japan, okay, I don't get surprised if he makes a commentary on BRICS nations are concerned.
We have a special guest joining us now. Jayant Dasgupta, former Indian ambassador to the WTO, is here with us to break this down for our viewers. Mr. Dasgupta, does this now mean that India, for example, will be faced with a 10% baseline tariff, a 26% tariff in case we are unable to stitch that interim trade deal in time, and an additional 10% BRICS tariff? So does this effectively take up India's tariffs to 46%?
It could, go up to 46%, as you have mentioned. But nothing is fixed in President Trump's regime, because he takes decisions on the spur of the moment, and he keeps changing his decisions also. So he has announced this 10%. He has this pronounced anti-BRICS bias, primarily because China is there as well as Russia. Yeah. I don't think he has much against India, South Africa, or Brazil.
Is it fair to say, Mr. Dasgupta, that the tariff war is targeted singularly towards China? Russia happens to be, of course, one of the bigger collateral damages, but India is no lesser of a collateral damage in this tariff war.
Yes, I think the primary focus is China, and that is visible when in the terms of the agreement with Vietnam that the US has struck.
Right.
Because 40% has been levied on transshipment.
That's right.
Of goods from China to the US via Vietnam.
What are the other challenges that you feel, sir, Donald Trump faces against the BRICS bloc? Is it de-dollarization, or is it Russian oil imports, which could likely undermine the oil imports from US potentially?
I think de-dollarization is just a concept at the moment. And,
right. But Trump has been talking about it, sir. Trump has been talking about it and has been threatening to impose tariffs on countries that go for de-dollarization.
I think de-dollarization as a BRICS concept has not really taken off, but China has increased the MMB trade with its partners, and India is also trying to have for instance, ruble trade.
Right.
And with the UAE, it is also exploring avenues of introducing a bilateral currency trade.
Right.
So de-dollarization may not take place in the form of a single currency, but bilateral currency trades are increasingly, I think, being explored and becoming, reality now.
All right. Final question, sir. How big a threat is Russian oil imports for the US, given the fact that US wants to go drill, baby, drill and export its own oil to the rest of the world? Donald Trump has spoken about 500% tariff in the past on countries that import Russian oil. So BRICS, which singularly features, of course, Russia, which is the oil exporter in this case, and the two largest importers of Russian oil, which is China and India.
I think it is... there are two issues involved in this. One is that the Europeans are still dependent on Russian oil to a certain extent, and Russian gas to a greater extent still. So that is one thing. The second thing is the US's pure commercial interest of selling more oil. If the Russian supply can be, squeezed, then the US will be able to sell more of its oil. So both the interests are coinciding. And that is why the US wants the Russian supply to come down, but not to harm the European interests to that extent that its industry is shut down, etc. So that is, I think, the case.
Right, Ambassador Dasgupta, thank you so much. We will leave it at that for now. But of
Thank
course, this is a breaking news that we will continue tracking for you all through the day today on News 9, that India could potentially be faced with a 46% tariff now, which is a 10% baseline tariff, a 26% reciprocal tariff, and now potentially a 10% BRICS tariff.